You never noticed how I stare at you. Every glance, every lingering gaze was a silent confession I could never bring myself to voice. There was something about the way you moved, the way your presence filled the room, that held me captive in ways I could not explain. I watched you not because I wanted to, but because I could not help myself. There was an unspoken connection, at least in my heart, an invisible thread that tied me to you in ways you never saw. You never noticed the way my eyes followed you, tracing the delicate lines of your face, the way your lips curved into a smile, the way your hands moved when you spoke. I memorized you in ways I never intended to. Each expression, each fleeting moment, became etched in my mind like a painting I could never put into words. It was not just admiration. It was something deeper, something that stirred within me, filling the spaces I never knew were empty. There were moments when I wished you would catch me staring, that you would turn and see the way my eyes softened at the sight of you. But you never did. You were lost in your world, unaware of the quiet adoration that lived in the spaces between us. I wondered if you would have understood, if you would have looked at me differently had you known. But perhaps it was better this way, that my feelings remained unspoken, held in the delicate silence that only I could hear. I watched you in the quiet moments, when you weren't performing for the world, when you thought no one was paying attention. I saw the way your eyes flickered with emotion, the way you carried the weight of your thoughts, the way you sighed when you thought no one could hear. I noticed the way you hesitated before speaking, the way you smiled even when your heart was heavy. You never knew that someone was there, watching, understanding in ways you never imagined. Sometimes, I wondered if you ever noticed the way I looked away just in time, the way I masked my longing in polite indifference. I trained myself to hide the truth, to pretend that I was unaffected by your presence, when in reality, you were the quiet storm that shook me in ways I never saw coming. I wanted to tell you, to let you see yourself through my eyes, to make you understand the depth of my admiration. But the words never came, and so I remained in the background, a silent observer in a story that was never mine to tell. There were nights when I lay awake, replaying every glance, every moment when you were near. I wondered what it would feel like to stand before you and let my heart speak freely, to tell you that you had unknowingly become the sun in my sky. But fear held me back. Fear that you would not understand, fear that you would turn away, fear that my quiet devotion would be met with indifference. And so, I kept it to myself, holding on to these feelings like fragile glass, afraid that speaking them aloud would shatter them into 1,000 irreparable pieces. You never noticed the way I hesitated before walking away, the way my footsteps slowed as if hoping for a reason to stay. You never noticed the way my breath caught when you laughed, the way my heart ached with a longing I could never express. It was not just attraction, not just admiration. It was something deeper, something sacred, something that existed beyond the limitations of words. Perhaps it was meant to be this way. Perhaps you were never meant to know, and I was never meant to say. Maybe my role in your life was simply to love you from afar, to find joy in the quiet moments of watching you exist. Maybe my heart was never meant to be held by you, but instead, to carry the quiet ache of a love that never asked for anything in return. I do not regret the way I looked at you. Even if you never saw, even if you never knew, I am grateful for the moments I had, for the way you unknowingly taught me the beauty of silent love, for the way you showed me the power of presence, even in absence. You never noticed how I stared at you, and maybe that is the most beautiful part of it all. For in the end, love does not always need to be seen to be real. It simply exists, quiet and unwavering, in the spaces between the words left unsaid. You never noticed how I stare at you, how my eyes search for you in a crowded room, how my heart skips a beat when I catch even a fleeting glimpse of you. You never noticed the way my gaze lingers just a little too long, savoring every detail of your face, every movement, every expression. There were moments when I thought you might see it, that you might catch the quiet longing in my eyes, the way they soften whenever you're near. But you never did. And maybe it's better that way. Maybe it's safer for me to love you from a distance, in the quiet sanctuary of my own thoughts, where my feelings are mine alone, untangled by reality. I watch you when you laugh, when your eyes crinkle at the corners, when the sound of your joy fills the air like music. I watch you when you're lost in thought, your brows slightly furrowed, lips parted just a little as though you're about to speak, but choose to keep your thoughts locked away. I watch you when you don't realize anyone is looking, when you think no one notices the way you stare off into space, lost in your own world. And in those moments I wonder what you're thinking, if you ever think of me. You never noticed how I remember the smallest details about you, how you bite your lip when you're nervous, how you run your fingers through your hair when you're deep in thought. I remember the way you stand, the way you shift your weight from one foot to another when you're waiting for something. I remember the way your voice sounds in the morning, softer and deeper, or how it rises slightly when you're excited about something. These things are etched into my mind like poetry, like a song I never want to forget. There have been times when I wanted to tell you, when I wanted to pull you aside and say, look at me, really look at me. See me the way I see you. But the words never come. They get stuck somewhere in my throat, tangled in fear, in uncertainty. What if you don't feel the same? What if my confession ruins everything? So instead, I stay silent. I let my feelings rest in the quiet corners of my soul, where they are safe, where they can remain unbroken. You never noticed how my heart aches when I see you with someone else, how I smile and nod, pretending it doesn't hurt, pretending that I am happy for you when deep down, every fiber of my being wishes it were me instead. But that's not how the world works. You can't choose who you love, and you can't force someone to love you back. So I accept it. I swallow my pain and bury it deep inside, convincing myself that as long as you're happy, that should be enough for me. Sometimes I wonder if you've ever caught a glimpse of the truth. If there was ever a moment when my mask slipped, when my guard dropped just enough for you to see the truth behind my eyes. Did you ever wonder why I always seem to be there? Why I always listen just a little too intently? Why I remember things you barely recall mentioning? Maybe you did. Maybe for a second you saw it. But if you did, you never said anything. You never acknowledged it. And so, I pretend along with you, playing my role as the silent admirer, the unnoticed lover. You never noticed how I cherish the moments we share, no matter how small. The way my heart races when you brush past me. The way I hold on to every word you say, replaying our conversations in my head long after they've ended. You never noticed how much I care, how much I wish I could be the one you turn to when you need someone, the one you think of in the middle of the night when you can't sleep. Maybe someday you will notice. Maybe one day you will look at me and see what has always been there, hidden in plain sight. Or maybe you never will. Maybe I will continue to watch you from afar, loving you in silence, carrying this secret like a delicate glass ornament, too fragile to expose to the harshness of reality. But no matter what happens, no matter where life takes us, I will always remember the way I looked at you. I will always remember the love that never needed words, the silent devotion that you never noticed. And maybe that is enough. Maybe the beauty of this love lies in its secrecy, in the quiet way it exists without expectation, without demand. Maybe it is enough to have loved you, even if you never knew.